Today we are going to work on our concept mastery routine. If you remember, we made this beautiful chart together about our CONCEPT, and we'll use it to help fill in our diagram over here with our concept amphibians. This chart will really help break down understanding and being able to come up with our end goal and definition. So this whole chart is really specific to help us get what is part of our topic and what isn't, so that we can really pinpoint down that really good definition for our topic. What I need from you today is just helping me fill out from your schema and other things we've talked about with what to put in each area, and I'll help you out as well. So we're going to start with our concept, and I'm going to give that one to you. It's amphibians. That's what we're going to talk about today. And amphibians is one category what we're going to talk about, but we need to remember that amphibians is part of a bigger category, which is called a vertebrate. And we've talked about other vertebrates already. Such as fish and mammals that we've gone through. So now that we have those two ideas in our brain, we can go through and think about, okay, we remember our mammals, they had the vertebrate meant that they had that vertebrae, they had that backbone. So we can go in and talk about what's always, sometimes, and never present. We're going to come back to our keywords once we fill these in, because we did our C and we did our O. We're going to come back to our N. We're going to start again with another C. So something that's always present in an amphibian. Do you know what an amphibian is?
No, could you explain it to me, please?
An amphibian is, do you know a frog?
A frog.
An amphibian is a frog or a salamander. So that can come down in our examples later for step 5, our E. We can re-talk about those. So it starts as an egg. They lay eggs. So that's one thing that's always present, is that they will lay their eggs and they're fertilized outside of the animal. They start as eggs. So they start as a little egg, and then they slowly move into their life cycle of the egg to a tadpole, and then they go into growing their legs and becoming the animal that they are. We can go into that when we talk more about life cycles later. But that was a brief thing for amphibians and their life cycle. What's something else you know frogs can do?
Hop?
Yeah, they have legs. Cool. I don't think, if you think what an amphibian is, that's a great example for what a frog does. Great example, but that would be something a frog would specifically do. But an amphibian maybe can swim. What? No. That's what you're worried about. I love it. Something else that they can do, because they can swim, they can breathe in water. Would that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the fun thing about amphibians versus mammals, if you remember, we talked about mammals, and mammals are warm-blooded. Our amphibians are cold-blooded. So then that's something we can write over, and never present is warm-blooded. No, it's not going to be well. Okay. Something else that they don't do is maybe like a bird. What can a bird do?
Fly.
Yeah. Our amphibians can't fly. One thing that differentiates an amphibian from, I'm trying to think what the other word is. A reptile is amphibians don't have scales. So that's one thing they'll never have, is scales. But they are slimy. Have you ever held a salamander or frog before?
Yes.
Icky. Sometimes present. Fun things about these ones is that they can have all sorts of because they have this life cycle. They can sometimes have no legs, sometimes have 4 legs, sometimes have 2 legs. So we can write sometimes 4 legs, no legs. And the really cool fun fact about amphibians is that they can live on the land or in the water. So sometimes they live on land, or sometimes they live in water. Super cool. So now that we've done our C, we're going to move on to our E. So like I said, what's an example of an amphibian?
A frog.
Good job. And then a salamander is another one. I made an error. And not an example, well, it's not an amphibian.
A robin bird.
Birds. I will get specific for you. Okay. What else?
A whale.
A whale is, yep. Whales are mammals, like we learned about. Yes. And one more.
Dog.
Perfect. Okay. And then this fun little area we can talk about for something that I thought that was like, maybe, kinda, no. Something I was thinking about is, what about a sea turtle? They live on land, they live in water, they have these things. So I put sea turtle here on mine. But then I looked at our fun things up here. And they can breathe in water. No, I think that's wrong. I'm not going to say they can breathe in water. I'm going to have to fact check myself there. But they can swim. So I'm going to draw a line and say that they can swim. They have scales. That's what makes them on that side. So that kind of ties in multiple things, and they can live in land and water. So that's a fun fact about sea turtles. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I do think that this applies to them as well. Fertilizing their eggs outside once they lay them. I do think. I can double check that for our next lesson and let you know. Yeah. So we practice with new examples so we can get more detailed into different kinds of frogs. So we can talk about a tree frog and how a tree frog follows all of these categories. Sometimes we'll have these because they as well start as a tadpole and move through their through the state of their life. So that's pretty cool. So now we can go back to our third step and we can find some keywords. So let's think, what are some important words from our sheet that we could put over here? I'm going to start with picking cold-blooded. And I'm going to underline it because it's underlined. You pick one. Literally any word that you see up here in
Live
red.
on land.
Live on land. And then what kind of line would I put underneath it? Where did we find that?
With a squiggly line.
A squiggly line. Good. Okay, and then another one we can do would be scales. That seems like an important word for this category. I'm going to do the dashed line underneath it because I got from over here. Maybe we should write salamander since I even made the mistake and spelled it wrong. That seems like it could be an important word for us. And I will spell it correctly. And then I'm going to circle it because it's circled. Maybe we should come up with 1 or 2 more.
Can swim.
Can swim. Okay, one more example and then we can move on to our definition.
How about, can we say whale and do the dotted lines?
Perfect! I love that idea. So I'll do the dotted circle. Love that. Oh, this is the dot. Okay, so now that we have all this really cool information and we've gone through our CONECEP, like we have over here, now we have to tie down a definition. So we're going to write a definition on our topic. What's our topic again?
Amphibians.
Amphibians. So we're going to start with an amphibian. I'm going to capitalize it because I think that's an important word. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And it can be fixed later. An amphibian is, pull one word from here.
Warm blood, or cold.
Cold-blooded, okay. Is cold-blooded. Should we use this word too, get it more specific? Is a cold-blooded vertebrate? Does that sound like a good idea?
Sure.
The cold-blooded vertebrate that, what can it do? Can
live on land
or water?
Or water, yeah.
And let's do one more. And then I'm going to say, and one more from this category. Should we say can swim? Because it's living in the water?
Sure.
That's a good idea. Or can move. Okay. That seems like a pretty good definition to me. So I'm going to go back through and think, where did we get this information from? So if we look, we use our amphibian. So I'm going to box that. Cold-blooded. I got that from my, which one again? The line, the squiggles, or the dashes?
No, the straight line.
Yeah, the line, the squiggles, or the dashes.
Oh,
the straight line is correct. And then our vertebrate, what would I do that as?
A box.
A box. Good. And then can live on land or water. What kind of line?
The straight line.
Or did we...
no.
A squiggle?
Squiggles.
Okay. And then can swim.
Straight line.
Perfect. So if we look at here, now we have our cool, filled out diagram. Questions. So now we can talk about all our fun things here. We can hang this up in the classroom next to our one for mammals. So what did you learn today?
I learned that amphibians can swim.
So cool! And we learned all this fun stuff. We learned, and now we have a definition for what an amphibian is. And we can look back at what our definition for all our other fun animals are. Can you tell me one interesting thing that happened today in class?
You spelled the word wrong.
That's very true. That is very true. So yeah, now we've learned about amphibians that are vertebrate. And we use our concept mastery routine like we've talked about. We've also in the past used our frame routine, but we use this one today instead.